Ladies, welcome back to our channel where we dive deep into the realities of mature relationships and empower women to make the best decisions for their lives. I'm so grateful you're here today because what we're about to discuss could literally transform your approach to dating and relationships after 50. Before we begin, I want to ask you for a favor that helps our community grow stronger. If today's content resonates with you, please hit that like button. It tells me you want more content like this. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts or experiences, because your wisdom helps other women in our community. Don't forget to share this video with a friend who might need to hear this message, and if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell so you never miss our latest insights. And if you really want to show your support and help us continue creating content that matters, consider leaving a super thanks. It means the world to us and helps keep this channel thriving. Now let's talk about something that's been weighing on my heart. I've received countless messages from women in their 50s, 60s and beyond, sharing stories that break my heart because they're so familiar. These are stories of intelligent, accomplished, beautiful women who found themselves in situations that left them feeling confused, diminished, and questioning their own judgment. Here's what I want you to understand right from the start. Your intuition didn't become less reliable as you got older. It became sharper. That uncomfortable feeling in your stomach, that voice in your head saying something isn't right, that sense of walking on eggshells around someone you're supposed to feel comfortable with. These aren't signs of insecurity or overthinking. These are your internal alarm systems, finely tuned by decades of life experience trying to protect you. But here's what happens to so many of us. We've been conditioned to doubt ourselves, to make excuses for others, to be understanding and accommodating. We tell ourselves we're being too sensitive, too demanding, too picky. We convince ourselves that at our age we should be grateful for any attention, any companionship, any chance at love. Stop right there. That thinking is not only wrong, it's dangerous. Today we're going to explore the specific feelings and situations that should have you stepping back, reassessing, and potentially walking away, no matter how much you care about someone, no matter how lonely you've been, and no matter what anyone else tells you about being lucky to have someone. The foundation of self-worth. Let me start with something fundamental that every woman over 50 needs to understand. You are not a consolation, prize, a convenience, or a placeholder until something better comes along. You are a complete, valuable, worthy person who deserves to be treated with respect, consideration, and genuine affection. I know this might sound obvious, but I want you to really think about it. How many times in your life have you settled for less than you deserved because you were afraid of being alone? How many times have you made excuses for someone's behavior because you didn't want to rock the boat? How many times have you convinced yourself that this is just how relationships are when deep down you knew something was off? The truth is, many of us have spent decades in relationships where we've been conditioned to minimize our needs, suppress our concerns, and prioritize keeping the peace over honoring our own well-being. And now, whether through divorce, death of a spouse, or simply deciding to pursue love later in life, we're navigating the dating world with patterns and beliefs that no longer serve us, if they ever did. Warning sign 1. You feel like you're walking on eggshells. The first major warning sign we need to discuss is that constant feeling of walking on eggshells. You know what I'm talking about. That sensation where you're constantly monitoring your words, your tone, your behavior, because you never know what might set him off or cause conflict. Maybe he gets irritated when you mention your children or grandchildren too much. Perhaps he becomes cold or distant when you talk about your friends, your hobbies, or your past. Maybe he has strong opinions about how you should dress, what you should eat, or how you should spend your time, and you find yourself constantly adjusting to avoid his disapproval. Let me be crystal clear about something. Healthy relationships don't require you to diminish yourself to keep the peace. You should be able to be authentically yourself. Talk about what matters to you, pursue your interests, maintain your relationships, and express your opinions without fear of emotional punishment. If you find yourself constantly censoring yourself, second-guessing your natural responses, or feeling like you have to perform a version of yourself to keep him happy, that's not love. That's control. And you deserve so much better. I remember speaking with Maria, a 62-year-old retired teacher who described exactly this situation. She told me about how she started dating a man who seemed charming at first, but gradually she noticed she was becoming quieter and more careful around him. She stopped talking about her volunteer work because he'd make dismissive comments. She stopped mentioning her weekly lunch dates with her sister because he'd act jealous and possessive. She even found herself changing her clothing choices because she was afraid of his critical comments. Maria's story isn't unique. It's happening to women everywhere, and it's a clear sign that you need to step back and reassess the relationship. Warning sign. 2. He dismisses your feelings and experiences. Another crucial red flag is when someone consistently dismisses, minimizes, or invalidates your feelings and experiences. This might sound like you're being too sensitive, you're overreacting, you're imagining things, or that's not what happened. At our stage in life, we've accumulated decades of experiences, wisdom, and emotional intelligence. We know what we've seen, we know what we've felt, and we know when something doesn't feel right. When someone consistently tells you that your perceptions are wrong, or that your emotional responses are inappropriate, they're engaging in a form of psychological manipulation called gaslighting. This is particularly insidious for older women, because we've often spent years in relationships or situations where our voices weren't heard or valued. We might already be struggling with self-doubt about our worth, our attractiveness, or our relevance. When someone we care about reinforces these doubts by dismissing our feelings, it can be devastating. Let me share another story. Janet, a 58-year-old widow, started dating a man she met through a mutual friend. At first, she was thrilled to have companionship again after 3 years of being alone, but gradually, she noticed a pattern. Whenever she expressed concern about something, maybe he was late without calling, or he made plans without consulting her, he would respond with dismissive phrases like, "You worry too much," or "You need to relax and enjoy life." When she tried to explain how his actions made her feel, he would cut her off and say she was dwelling on negativity or being too needy. Over time, Janet began to question her own judgment and emotional responses. She started apologizing for having feelings at all. This is not okay. Your feelings are valid. Your experiences are real. Your concerns deserve to be heard and addressed respectfully. If someone in your life consistently makes you feel like you're crazy, too sensitive, or wrong about your own experiences, that person is not good for your mental health or well-being. Warning sign. 3. You feel constantly exhausted by the relationship. Healthy relationships should energize you, not drain you. Yes, all relationships require work and compromise, but if you find yourself constantly exhausted by the emotional labor of maintaining the relationship, that's a significant red flag. This exhaustion might manifest in different ways. Maybe you're constantly trying to figure out his moods and adjust accordingly. Perhaps you're always the one initiating conversations about problems or trying to smooth over conflicts. Maybe you feel like you're doing all the emotional heavy lifting. You're the one who remembers important dates, plans activities, maintains connections with friends and family, and keeps the relationship moving forward. Or perhaps the exhaustion comes from a different source. You're tired of defending your choices, explaining your needs, or justifying your existence. You're worn out from having the same conversations over and over again without any real resolution or change. I want you to think about how you feel after spending time with this person. Do you feel happy, fulfilled and energized? Or do you feel drained, confused, and emotionally depleted? Your body and your spirit are giving you important information. Relationship counselor Dr. Patricia Evans talks about the concept of energy vampires, people who consistently drain our emotional resources without giving back. In healthy relationships, there's a natural give and take of emotional energy. Both people contribute to the emotional well-being of the relationship. Both people make efforts to understand and support each other, and both people leave interactions feeling generally positive. If you're always the one giving and rarely receiving, if you're constantly managing his emotions while yours are ignored, if you feel like you're carrying the entire emotional burden of the relationship, then it's time to step back and ask yourself why you're accepting so little. Warning sign. 4. He shows little interest in your life, goals, and dreams. One of the most painful experiences for many older women is being with someone who shows little genuine interest in who they are as a person. This goes beyond just listening politely when you talk. It's about someone who actively engages with your thoughts, dreams, goals, and experiences. At this stage in our lives, many of us are entering new chapters. Maybe we're pursuing interests we never had time for when we were raising children or building careers. Perhaps we're starting new businesses, going back to school, traveling, volunteering, or exploring creative pursuits. We might be dealing with aging parents, changing relationships with our adult children, or health challenges that require support and understanding. A partner who cares about you should be genuinely interested in these aspects of your life. They should ask questions, remember details, and show enthusiasm for your pursuits. They should want to understand your perspective on things that matter to you, but some people are only interested in what you can do for them. They might listen to you talk, but they're not really hearing you. They might remember details that affect them directly, but forget things that are important to you personally. They might dismiss your goals as unrealistic or unnecessary at your age. I think of Linda, a 55-year-old woman who had always dreamed of writing a novel. After her divorce, she finally had the time and emotional space to pursue this dream. She joined a writing group, took online courses, and started working on her manuscript. When she met David and they began dating, she was excited to share this passion with him, but David's response was consistently lukewarm at best. He would change the subject when she talked about her writing, make jokes about her little hobby, and suggest she was wasting her time on something that would never amount to anything. He showed no interest in reading any of her work, never asked how her writing was going, and seemed irritated when she wanted to attend writing workshops or spend time on her manuscript. Contrast this with Linda's experience when she later met Robert, who was genuinely fascinated by her creative process. He asked thoughtful questions about her characters, celebrated her small victories, and even helped her create a more comfortable writing space in her home. The difference in how these two men approached her passion told Linda everything she needed to know about their character and their potential as partners. Your dreams and goals don't become less valid or important as you age. They become more precious because you understand how limited time can be. Anyone who minimizes your aspirations or shows no interest in what makes you come alive is not someone who truly values you as a person. Warning sign. 5. You feel ashamed or embarrassed about the relationship. This one is particularly important, and I want you to pay close attention to your honest feelings as we discuss it. Do you find yourself reluctant to introduce him to your friends or family? Are you hesitant to post photos together on social media? Do you avoid talking about certain aspects of your relationship with people you trust? Sometimes this reluctance comes from a place of protectiveness. You want to keep something special private, but often it comes from a deeper place of knowing that something isn't right, and you don't want the people who love you to see it. Maybe you're embarrassed by how he treats service workers, how he talks about other people, or how he behaves in social situations. Perhaps you're ashamed of how he treats you, the dismissive comments, the lack of consideration, or the way he makes decisions without including you. Maybe you're uncomfortable with the age gap, the financial imbalance, or the way he talks about his past relationships. Your instinct to protect yourself from judgment is understandable, but it's also a warning sign. Healthy relationships should make you feel proud and happy to share your joy with others. You should feel excited to introduce your partner to the people you love, confident that they'll see why you care about this person. If you're hiding aspects of your relationship or feeling defensive about your choices, take some time to examine why. What are you afraid people will see? What are you trying to protect him from, or protect yourself from? These questions can lead to important insights about the true nature of your relationship. Warning sign 6. He rushes the physical or emotional. Intimacy, another significant red flag, especially for women who might be feeling vulnerable or lonely, is when someone pushes for physical or emotional intimacy before you're ready. This pressure can be subtle or overt, but it's always inappropriate. At our age, we often hear messages about how we should be grateful for any physical affection, how we should loosen up and not be so uptight about intimacy, or how we should move quickly because time is limited. These messages are harmful and wrong. You have every right to move at your own pace, regardless of your age. You have the right to say no, to wait, to take time to develop trust and connection before becoming physically intimate. You have the right to have boundaries about what you're comfortable with and when. A man who truly cares about you will respect your boundaries and never make you feel guilty, selfish, or foolish for wanting to take things slowly. He won't use your age, your past relationships, or your future prospects as leverage to pressure you into physical intimacy before you're ready. Similarly, be cautious of men who push for deep emotional intimacy too quickly. This might look like sharing very personal information early in the relationship, asking you to reveal intimate details about your past, or making grand declarations of love after knowing you for a short time. While this can feel flattering and exciting, it's often a manipulation tactic used to create a false sense of closeness and obligation. Healthy intimacy, both physical and emotional, develops naturally over time as trust and genuine connection grow. If someone is pushing you to move faster than feels comfortable, trust your instincts and slow things down. Warning sign 7. You notice inconsistencies in his stories or behavior. Pay attention to inconsistencies in what he tells you about his past, his current situation, or his future plans. While everyone has a right to privacy and the freedom to share personal information at their own pace, deliberate deception is a serious red flag. These inconsistencies might be small at first. Different details about his work history, conflicting information about his family relationships, or stories that don't quite add up when you piece them together. But small lies often indicate a willingness to be deceptive about bigger things. Also, pay attention to inconsistencies in his behavior. Does he present himself as kind and generous, but treat service workers rudely? Does he claim to value honesty, but lie to others when it's convenient? Does he say he respects women, but make disparaging comments about his ex-wife, his female colleagues, or women in general? These inconsistencies are important because they reveal character. How someone behaves when they think you're not paying attention, how they treat people who can't benefit them, and how they talk about others when those people aren't around. These behaviors are much more indicative of their true character than the charming persona they might present to you directly. Sarah, a 60-year-old real estate agent, learned this lesson the hard way. She was dating a man who presented himself as successful, generous, and family-oriented. He told her elaborate stories about his business achievements, his charitable giving, and his close relationships with his children. But over time, Sarah began noticing inconsistencies.
His successful business seemed to involve a lot of get-rich-quick schemes that never panned out. His stories about generous charitable giving didn't align with his constant complaints about money. His close relationship with his children was contradicted by the fact that they never called him, and he didn't seem to know basic details about their lives. When Sarah gently questioned these inconsistencies, he became angry and defensive, accusing her of not trusting him and being too nosy about his personal life. This reaction was actually another red flag. Honest people don't react with anger when asked reasonable questions about inconsistencies in their stories. Warning sign 8. He isolates you from your support network. One of the most dangerous warning signs is when someone tries to isolate you from your friends, family, and support network. This isolation rarely happens all at once. It's usually a gradual process that can be difficult to recognize while it's happening. It might start with subtle criticisms of your friends or family members. He might point out their flaws, suggest they don't really care about you, or imply that they're jealous of your happiness. He might make it difficult for you to maintain these relationships by scheduling activities during times when you usually see friends, getting upset when you want to spend time with family, or creating drama around social events. As this pattern continues, you might find yourself seeing friends less often to avoid conflict. You might stop sharing details about your relationship with family members because you're tired of their concerns. You might gradually become more dependent on him for emotional support, social interaction, and validation. This isolation serves several purposes for controlling people. It makes you more dependent on them for emotional needs, reduces the likelihood that others will point out problematic behaviors, and makes it harder for you to leave if the relationship becomes unhealthy. Healthy partners encourage your relationships with friends and family. They understand that these connections are important for your well-being and that they actually strengthen rather than threaten your romantic relationship. They make an effort to get along with the people who matter to you, and they support your need for independence and outside relationships. If you notice that your social world is shrinking since you started dating someone, if you're seeing friends and family less often, or if you feel like you can't talk openly to the people who love you about your relationship, consider this a serious warning sign. Warning sign 9. Financial manipulation or pressure. Financial issues can be particularly complex for older women, especially those who may have experienced financial dependence in previous relationships or who may be concerned about financial security in their later years. This vulnerability can make us targets for financial manipulation. Financial manipulation can take many forms. Sometimes it's obvious. Someone asking you for money, pressuring you to pay for expensive dates or trips, or expecting you to cover costs because they're going through a tough time. But it can also be subtle. Someone who never seems to have money when bills come, who makes expensive plans but expects you to pay, or who pressures you to make financial decisions that benefit them. On the flip side, some people use money as a tool for control. They might insist on paying for everything, but then use that generosity to control your choices or make you feel obligated to them. They might want to know detailed information about your financial situation too early in the relationship, or pressure you to make changes to your financial arrangements that would benefit them. Be particularly cautious of anyone who shows excessive interest in your financial situation, property, or estate plans early in the relationship. While these topics will naturally come up as relationships become more serious, early pressure to combine finances, make estate changes, or provide financial support is a major red flag. Donna, a 65-year-old widow, experienced this firsthand when she started dating a man who seemed attentive and caring. At first, he was generous with small gestures, flowers, coffee dates, thoughtful gifts. But gradually, he started making comments about how comfortable she must be, how nice her house was, and how lucky she was to have security after her husband's death. As the relationship progressed, He began having more and more financial emergencies that he expected her to help with. His car needed repairs. His business was having cash flow problems. His ex-wife was demanding more alimony. Each request came with emotional manipulation. If she really cared about him, she would help. If she loved him, she wouldn't let money come between them. When Donna finally realized what was happening and ended the relationship, she discovered that his financial emergencies were part of a pattern. He had used similar tactics with other women he had dated, always moving on when they either ran out of money or caught on to his manipulations. Warning sign 10. Your physical or mental health is suffering. Perhaps the most important warning sign of all is when you notice that your physical or mental health is suffering as a result of the relationship. Chronic stress from relationship problems can manifest in many ways. Difficulty sleeping, changes in appetite, frequent headaches, digestive issues, increased anxiety or depression, or a compromised immune system. Many women dismiss these symptoms or attribute them to other causes: getting older, work stress, family concerns. But if you notice that these health issues started or worsened after beginning the relationship, that's significant information. Our bodies often recognize danger before our conscious minds do. That knot in your stomach when you see his name on your phone, the tension in your shoulders when you're around him, the exhaustion that doesn't improve with rest, these are your body's ways of telling you something is wrong. Similarly, if you find yourself becoming more anxious, depressed, or emotionally unstable since starting the relationship, pay attention to that. Healthy relationships should generally improve our emotional well-being, not compromise it. Dr. Judith Herman, a researcher who specializes in psychological trauma, notes that one of the hallmarks of psychological abuse is the way it affects our nervous system. When we're constantly walking on eggshells, never knowing what will trigger conflict, always monitoring and adjusting our behavior, our bodies remain in a state of chronic stress that can have serious health consequences. Warning sign 11. He shows disrespect for your boundaries. Boundaries are essential for healthy relationships, and they become even more important as we age and become clearer about our needs, preferences, and limits. A man who respects you will honor your boundaries, even if he doesn't always understand them. These boundaries might involve many different areas of your life. Maybe you've established boundaries about communication. You don't want to text constantly throughout the day, or you prefer not to talk on the phone after a certain time. Perhaps you have boundaries about physical space. You need time alone in your home, or you're not ready to share certain personal spaces. You might have boundaries about social situations, family involvement, or how quickly the relationship progresses. You might have boundaries about topics you're not ready to discuss, experiences you're not interested in having, or roles you're not willing to play. A respectful partner will ask about your boundaries, remember them, and honor them even when it's inconvenient for them. They won't pressure you to change boundaries that make you uncomfortable, and they won't violate boundaries accidentally, repeatedly. Be particularly wary of someone who responds to your boundaries with anger, manipulation, or by simply ignoring them. Phrases like, "If you really loved me, you wouldn't have these rules," or "You're being ridiculous and controlling," are attempts to make you feel guilty for having normal, healthy boundaries. Margaret, a 59-year-old librarian, established early in her relationship that she needed Sunday mornings to herself for reflection and planning her week. This was important self-care time that helped her manage anxiety and feel prepared for the week ahead. At first, her boyfriend said he understood and respected this boundary, but gradually, he started encroaching on this time. He would call with emergencies on Sunday mornings, show up unannounced because he was in the neighborhood, or make plans for Sunday activities without consulting her first. When she reminded him of her boundary, he would apologize, but then repeat the same behavior the following week. Eventually, Margaret realized that his repeated violations of this boundary were not accidents or oversights. They were tests to see if she would maintain her limits or if she would gradually give in to his preferences. When she understood this pattern, she realized it was part of a larger pattern of disrespecting her needs and autonomy. Warning sign 12. You find yourself making excuses for his behavior. One of the clearest signs that you need to step back is when you find yourself constantly making excuses for someone's behavior, either to yourself or to others. This might sound like, he's just under a lot of stress right now. He doesn't mean to be critical, he's just trying to help. He had a difficult childhood, so he doesn't know how to show affection, or he's not used to being in a serious relationship. While it's natural and healthy to try to understand your partner's perspective and to give them the benefit of the doubt sometimes, chronic excuse-making is a sign that you're trying to rationalize behavior that you know isn't acceptable. The truth is, we all have reasons for our behavior. We all have stress, past trauma, difficult experiences, and personal challenges. But having reasons for our behavior doesn't make harmful behavior acceptable, and it doesn't obligate others to tolerate it. A 57-year-old friend of mine, Carol, spent months making excuses for her boyfriend's explosive temper. He had a stressful job, he was going through a difficult divorce, he had health problems. There was always a reason why his anger was understandable and why she should be patient with it. But one day, Carol realized something important. Regardless of the reasons for his behavior, the impact on her was the same. Whether his anger came from stress, trauma, or just poor self-control, she still felt afraid, diminished, and unhappy. The reasons why he was behaving badly didn't change the fact that his behavior was unacceptable. Understanding someone's behavior is different from excusing it. You can have compassion for someone's struggles while still maintaining your standards for how you deserve to be treated. Warning sign 13. The relationship lacks reciprocity. Healthy relationships involve reciprocity, a balance of giving and receiving, supporting and being supported, investing and benefiting. While this balance doesn't need to be perfect at every moment, over time there should be a sense that both people are contributing to and benefiting from the relationship. In many unhealthy relationships involving older women, there's a significant imbalance. You might find yourself doing most of the emotional labor. You're the one who initiates difficult conversations, remembers important dates, plans activities, and works to resolve conflicts. You might be the one who always accommodates his schedule, preferences, and needs while yours are treated as secondary. This imbalance might extend to practical matters as well. Maybe you're always the one who drives to his place, or you do most of the cooking and cleaning when you're together. Perhaps you're the one who pays for activities, or you're expected to help him with his responsibilities while he shows little interest in supporting you with yours, or the imbalance might be emotional. You might find yourself constantly supporting him through his challenges while receiving little support for your own struggles. You listen to his problems, offer advice and encouragement, and help him process his feelings. But when you need support, he's unavailable, dismissive, or quickly changes the subject to his own concerns. Pay attention to how you feel about the balance in your relationship. Do you feel like you're always giving more than you're receiving? Do you feel taken for granted or taken advantage of? Do you find yourself resenting the amount of energy you put into the relationship compared to what you get back? These feelings are important information. While some temporary imbalances are normal, maybe he's going through a particularly difficult time and needs extra support, or maybe you're in a position to contribute more practically at the moment. Chronic imbalances are unhealthy and unsustainable. Warning sign 14. Your intuition keeps telling you something is wrong. Throughout this discussion, I want to come back to something fundamental. Your intuition is one of your most valuable assets, and by this stage in your life, It's been finely tuned by decades of experience. That uncomfortable feeling in your stomach, that voice in your head saying something doesn't feel right, that sense of unease you can't quite explain. These are not signs of insecurity or overthinking. Many women have been conditioned to dismiss their intuitive feelings, especially when those feelings conflict with what they think they should want or what others tell them they should feel. We're told we're being too picky, too sensitive, too demanding. We're encouraged to give people the benefit of the doubt, to focus on potential rather than reality, to be understanding and accommodating. But your intuition has been shaped by years of experience with people, relationships, and situations. It can pick up on subtle patterns, inconsistencies, and warning signs that your conscious mind might not immediately recognize. When your gut is telling you something is wrong, it's worth paying attention. This doesn't mean you should make impulsive decisions based on momentary feelings, but if you have persistent, recurring, intuitive concerns about someone, if you find yourself frequently feeling uneasy or uncomfortable around them, if something just feels off, even when you can't articulate why, these feelings deserve serious consideration. Trust yourself. You know more than you think you know. Your feelings and concerns are valid, even if others don't understand them or agree with them. At this stage in your life, you don't have time to waste on relationships that don't feel right, and you don't owe anyone the benefit of the doubt at the expense of your own well-being. The cost of ignoring. These warning signs. I want to talk honestly about what happens when we ignore these warning signs, when we convince ourselves that we're being too demanding or that things will improve with time. The costs can be significant, and they go far beyond just having an unsatisfying relationship. First, there's the opportunity cost. Time is our most precious resource, and it becomes more valuable as we age. Every month you spend in a relationship that isn't serving you is a month you're not available for a relationship that could truly enrich your life. It's time you're not spending on personal growth, pursuing your interests, or building meaningful connections with friends and family. There's also the emotional cost. Chronic stress from relationship problems can lead to anxiety, depression, and an erosion of self-esteem. When you're constantly walking on eggshells, managing someone else's emotions, or trying to fix problems that aren't yours to fix, you're depleting your emotional resources. This can leave you less capable of enjoying other aspects of your life and less resilient when facing other challenges. The physical costs can be significant too. Chronic relationship stress can contribute to a range of health problems: sleep disturbances, digestive issues, headaches, compromised immune function, and even cardiovascular problems. At our age, we can't afford to compromise our health for relationships that aren't nurturing us. Perhaps most importantly, staying in unhealthy relationships can erode our sense of self-worth and our standards for how we deserve to be treated. When we consistently accept treatment that doesn't honor our value, we begin to internalize the message that this is what we deserve. This can make it even harder to recognize healthy relationships when they do come along. Why these patterns are so common for older women. It's important to understand why older women might be particularly vulnerable to these unhealthy relationship patterns. This isn't about weakness or poor judgment. It's about the unique challenges and circumstances that many of us face at this stage of life. Many older women are dealing with significant life transitions: divorce, widowhood, children, leaving home, retirement, or health changes. These transitions can leave us feeling vulnerable and uncertain about our identity and our future. When we're in this state of vulnerability, we might be more likely to accept relationships that aren't ideal because they provide companionship, security, or distraction from our challenges. Society sends us messages about aging that can undermine our confidence and standards. We're told that our value decreases as we age, that we should be grateful for any attention, that we shouldn't be picky at our age. These messages are harmful and false, but they can influence our expectations and choices, if we're not careful. Many older women also carry baggage from previous relationships where they may have been conditioned to prioritize others' needs over their own, to be accommodating and understanding, to work hard to maintain relationships even when those relationships weren't serving them well. These patterns can be deeply ingrained and difficult to change. Financial concerns can also play a role. Women who are worried about financial security might be more likely to stay in relationships with men who offer financial stability, even if those relationships are emotionally unhealthy. The fear of being alone and financially vulnerable can make us tolerant of treatment we wouldn't have accepted when we were younger and more financially secure. Understanding these factors isn't about making excuses. It's about having compassion for ourselves and recognizing that our vulnerability in certain areas doesn't mean we have to accept less than we deserve. Awareness of these patterns can actually empower us to make better choices. What healthy relationships look like at our age now? That we've spent considerable time discussing warning signs, I want to paint a picture of what healthy relationships can look like for women at our stage of life. It's important to have a clear vision of what we're seeking, not just what we're trying to avoid. Healthy relationships at our age are characterized by mutual respect, genuine interest in each other as individuals, and support for each other's growth and happiness. Both people should feel comfortable being authentically themselves without fear of judgment or retaliation. There should be open, honest communication about needs, concerns, and expectations. In a healthy relationship, conflicts are addressed directly and respectfully. Both people take responsibility for their own emotions and behaviors while also being considerate of their partner's feelings. Disagreements don't involve personal attacks, manipulation, or attempts to control the other person. There should be a sense of balance and reciprocity. Both people contribute to the relationship and both benefit from it. This doesn't mean everything is always equal, but over time there should be a feeling that both people are investing in and receiving from the partnership. A healthy partner will be genuinely interested in your life, your thoughts, your dreams, and your experiences. They'll remember things that are important to you, ask thoughtful questions, and show enthusiasm for your interests and achievements. They'll support your relationships with family and friends and encourage your personal growth and independence. Physical and emotional intimacy should develop naturally at a pace that feels comfortable for both people. There should be no pressure, coercion, or manipulation around intimacy. Both people should feel free to express their needs and boundaries, and those boundaries should be respected. Perhaps most importantly, a healthy relationship should enhance your life rather than diminish it. You should feel happier, more confident, and more yourself when you're with the right person. The relationship should add richness and joy to your life, not stress and anxiety. These kinds of relationships are absolutely possible at any age. Don't let anyone convince you that you need to lower your standards or settle for less than you deserve because of your age. Practical steps for moving forward. If you've recognized some of these warning signs in your current relationship, you might be wondering what to do next. The path forward will be different for everyone, but there are some practical steps that can help you clarify your situation and make decisions that honor your well-being. First, take some time for honest self-reflection. Consider journaling about your relationship experiences, paying particular attention to your feelings, concerns, and patterns you've noticed. Sometimes seeing our thoughts written down can help us recognize patterns we might miss otherwise. Talk to trusted friends or family members about your concerns. Sometimes we're too close to a situation to see it clearly, and people who love us can offer valuable perspective. Pay attention to the concerns that multiple people express. They're often picking up on things we're trying not to see. Consider working with a therapist or counselor, either individually or as a couple, if your partner is willing. A professional can help you sort through your feelings, communicate more effectively, and make decisions about your relationship's future. Don't feel embarrassed about seeking help. Getting support shows wisdom and self-care, not weakness. If you decide that the relationship isn't healthy for you, make a plan for ending it safely. If you're concerned about your safety, reach out to domestic violence resources for support and guidance. Even if there's no physical violence, ending relationships can be emotionally challenging, and having support can make the process easier and safer. Remember that ending a relationship doesn't mean you've failed or that you're giving up too easily. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for yourself and the other person is to recognize when a relationship isn't working and have the courage to make a change. Building your support network, one of the most important things you can do, whether you're currently in a relationship or not, is to build and maintain a strong support network. This network should include friends, family members, and possibly professional supporters like therapists, spiritual advisors, or support groups. Your support network serves multiple important functions. These people can provide emotional support during difficult times, offer practical help when you need it, and give you honest feedback about your relationships and decisions. They can help you maintain perspective and remind you of your worth when you're struggling with self-doubt. A strong support network also provides protection against isolation, which is one of the tactics used by controlling people. When you have multiple sources of love, support, and connection, you're less likely to become overly dependent on any one relationship. Building and maintaining these connections requires intentional effort. Make time for friendships, even when you're in a romantic relationship. Reach out to people regularly, not just when you need something. Be the kind of friend you want to have. Supportive, trustworthy, and genuinely interested in others' well-being. If you've lost touch with friends over the years, consider reaching out to reconnect. Many people are open to rekindling old friendships, especially as they age and realize the importance of maintaining connections. You can also build new friendships through volunteering, classes, interest groups, or social activities in your community. Rediscovering your individual identity. Many women find that they've lost touch with their individual identity over the years, especially if they've spent decades in roles that were primarily defined by their relationships to others, as wives, mothers, caregivers, or employees. Rediscovering who you are as an individual is crucial for building healthy relationships and making good choices about romantic partners. This process might involve exploring interests you haven't pursued in years or discovering completely new passions. Maybe you've always wanted to take art classes, learn a new language, travel to certain places, or volunteer for causes you care about. Now might be the perfect time to pursue these interests. Consider what values are most important to you at this stage of your life. What do you want to be remembered for? What kind of legacy do you want to leave? How do you want to spend your remaining years? These questions can help you clarify your priorities and make choices that align with your authentic self. Think about your strengths and accomplishments. Many women underestimate their capabilities and achievements, focusing instead on their perceived shortcomings or failures. Take time to acknowledge what you've accomplished, the obstacles you've overcome, and the wisdom you've gained. This recognition can boost your confidence and help you set appropriate standards for how you deserve to be treated. The importance of financial independence. While we've touched on financial manipulation as a warning sign, I want to emphasize the broader importance of maintaining financial independence and literacy at our age. Financial security gives you choices and freedom, including the freedom to leave relationships that aren't healthy. If you're not currently financially independent, consider what steps you can take to improve your financial situation. This might involve returning to work, starting a business, developing new skills, or finding ways to increase your income. It might also involve getting educated about your finances, understanding your assets, debts, income sources, and expenses. Don't be afraid to seek help with financial planning. Many communities offer financial literacy programs specifically for older adults, and financial advisors can help you create plans for managing your money effectively. The investment in financial education and planning can pay dividends in increased security and peace of mind. Be cautious about making major financial decisions early in relationships. Avoid combining finances, making large loans, or changing estate plans until you've been with someone for a significant period and you're certain about the relationship's future. Protect your financial independence as carefully as you protect your emotional well-being. Dealing with loneliness, one of the biggest fears that keeps women in unhealthy relationships, is the fear of being alone. Loneliness is a real and significant concern, especially for older adults who may have experienced major losses or life changes. However, it's important to understand that being alone is different from being lonely, and that unhealthy relationships can actually increase feelings of loneliness and isolation. Being in a relationship with someone who doesn't truly see you, understand you, or care about your well-being can be lonelier than being single. At least when you're alone, you're not dealing with the additional stress of managing someone else's emotions, walking on eggshells, or feeling misunderstood and unappreciated. There are many ways to address loneliness that don't involve romantic relationships. Building friendships, maintaining family connections, volunteering, joining groups or clubs, participating in religious or spiritual communities, and engaging in meaningful activities can all provide connection and companionship. Consider adopting a pet if your living situation allows it. Pets can provide companionship, routine, and unconditional love. They can also be great conversation starters and ways to meet other people. Remember that feeling lonely sometimes is a normal part of the human experience. You don't need to be in a relationship to have a fulfilling, meaningful life. Many people find that they actually prefer being single once they adjust to it and discover the freedom and peace that can come with independence. Learning to trust yourself again. If you've been in relationships where your feelings and perceptions were consistently dismissed or invalidated, you might struggle with trusting your own judgment. This lack of self-trust can make it difficult to recognize warning signs and make good decisions about relationships. Rebuilding self-trust is a gradual process that involves paying attention to your intuitive feelings and taking them seriously. Start with small decisions and notice how your gut feelings align with outcomes. When you have concerns about someone or something, don't dismiss them immediately. Explore them with curiosity. Practice mindfulness and self-awareness. Spend time alone with your thoughts and feelings without immediately trying to analyze, dismiss, or change them. Sometimes we need to sit with uncomfortable feelings to understand what they're trying to tell us. Keep a journal where you record your feelings, concerns, and observations about relationships and other life experiences. Over time, you might notice patterns in your intuitive responses that can help you trust your judgment more fully. Consider working with a therapist who can help you rebuild confidence in your perceptions and decision-making abilities. Therapy can be especially helpful if you've experienced gaslighting or other forms of psychological manipulation that have undermined your self-trust. Setting and maintaining boundaries. Learning to set and maintain healthy boundaries is one of the most important skills for creating satisfying relationships and protecting your well-being. Boundaries aren't walls that keep people out. They're guidelines that help others understand how to treat you respectfully. Good boundaries are clear, consistent, and kind. They're not punishments or ultimatums. They're simply statements about what you need to feel comfortable and respected. Examples might include, I need advance notice if you want to change our plans. I don't discuss my finances on early dates. Or, I need Sunday mornings to myself for personal time. When you set boundaries, expect some people to test them. This testing isn't necessarily malicious. Some people are simply used to pushing limits to see what they can get away with. How someone responds to your boundaries tells you important information about their character and their respect for you. Healthy people will respect your boundaries even if they don't always understand them. They might ask for clarification or express disappointment, but they won't try to argue you out of your boundaries or violate them repeatedly. Be prepared to enforce your boundaries when necessary. This might mean ending conversations that violate your boundaries, leaving situations that make you uncomfortable, or ending relationships with people who consistently disrespect your limits. Remember that you have the right to change your boundaries as you grow and learn. What you needed in one relationship or at one stage of your life might be different from what you need now. Stay flexible and adjust your boundaries as necessary to protect your well-being. The power of saying no. Learning to say no without guilt or extensive explanation is a crucial skill for maintaining your autonomy and well-being. Many women, especially those from certain generations, were taught that saying no is selfish or unkind. This conditioning can make us vulnerable to manipulation and can prevent us from honoring our own needs and preferences. You have the right to say no to requests, invitations, suggestions, and demands that don't align with your needs, values, or preferences. You don't owe anyone an extensive explanation for your decisions, and you don't need to justify your choices to gain approval from others. Practice saying no in low-stakes situations to build your confidence. You might start by declining invitations to social events you're not interested in, or saying no to requests that would overextend your schedule. Notice how it feels to prioritize your own needs and preferences. Remember that saying no to one thing means saying yes to something else. When you decline a request that doesn't serve you, you're saying yes to activities, relationships, and experiences that do align with your values and goals. If saying no feels difficult, you can soften it with kindness while still being firm. Phrases like, "That doesn't work for me," "I'm not available for that," or "That's not something I'm interested in," are clear without being harsh. Creating a vision for your future. Regardless of your current relationship status, it's important to have a clear vision for how you want to spend your remaining years. This vision should be based on your own values, interests, and dreams, rather than on what others expect of you or what you think you should want. Consider what would make you feel most fulfilled and satisfied. What experiences do you want to have? What relationships do you want to nurture? What contributions do you want to make? What legacy do you want to leave? Think about practical considerations too. Where do you want to live? How do you want to spend your time? What kind of lifestyle do you want to maintain? What are your financial goals and needs? Having a clear vision for your future can help you make better decisions about relationships. You can evaluate potential partners based on whether they support and enhance your vision, or whether they would require you to compromise important aspects of your dreams and goals. Your vision might evolve over time, and that's perfectly normal. Life is unpredictable, and circumstances change. But having some sense of direction can help you make choices that align with your authentic desires rather than simply reacting to whatever opportunities or pressures come your way. Embracing your worth. Perhaps the most important message I want to leave you with is this: you are valuable, worthy, and deserving of love and respect exactly as you are. Your age doesn't diminish your worth. Your relationship history doesn't define your value. Your perceived flaws or imperfections don't make you less deserving of kindness and consideration. You bring decades of experience, wisdom, and life knowledge to any relationship. You have stories to tell, insights to share, and love to give. You have survived challenges, overcome obstacles, and learned important lessons. These experiences have shaped you into the unique, complex, interesting person you are today. Don't let anyone convince you that you should be grateful for scraps of attention or affection. Don't accept the message that you should lower your standards or settle for less because of your age. Don't believe anyone who suggests that you're too demanding, too sensitive, or too picky for wanting to be treated with respect and consideration. The right person will appreciate your worth and will be grateful to have you in their life. They will see your age as a sign of wisdom and experience, not as a liability. They will value your insights, respect your boundaries, and support your dreams. Until you find that person, and even after you do, remember that you are complete and valuable on your own. Your worth doesn't depend on being in a relationship, and your happiness doesn't require someone else's validation. Moving forward with confidence, as we conclude this discussion, I want to emphasize that recognizing warning signs and maintaining high standards doesn't mean being suspicious, cynical, or closed off to love. It means being wise, discerning, and protective of your well-being. You can be open to love while still being cautious. You can be hopeful about relationships while still maintaining your boundaries. You can be generous and kind while still expecting to be treated with respect and consideration. The goal isn't to avoid all relationships or to be so guarded that you miss opportunities for genuine connection. The goal is to be selective, to choose relationships that enhance your life rather than diminish it, and to have the courage to walk away from situations that aren't serving your highest good. Trust yourself. Trust your instincts. Trust your worth. You know more than you think you know. You deserve more than you might believe. And you have more power to choose your circumstances than you might realize. At this stage of your life, you have the wisdom that comes from experience, the clarity that comes from facing challenges, and the freedom that comes from knowing yourself. Use these gifts to create the relationships and the life you truly desire. You don't have time to waste on relationships that don't honor your worth. You don't have energy to spare on people who don't appreciate what you bring to their lives. You don't have to settle for less than you deserve just because you're afraid of being alone. The right relationships will come when you're clear about what you deserve and brave enough to insist on it. Until then, enjoy your own company, pursue your own interests, and remember that a life well lived on your own terms is infinitely better than a life compromised by relationships that don't serve you. Conclusion and outro, ladies. We've covered a lot of ground today, and I hope this discussion has given you valuable insights and tools for evaluating your relationships and protecting your well-being. Remember, recognizing these warning signs isn't about becoming cynical or closed off to love. It's about being wise, discerning, and protective of your precious time and energy. The most important takeaway from today's conversation is this: trust yourself. Your feelings are valid, your concerns are important, and your standards are not too high. At this beautiful stage of your life, you have earned the right to be selective about who gets access to your time, your energy, and your heart. If you recognize some of these warning signs in your current situation, please don't feel ashamed or embarrassed. We've all made relationship choices that weren't ideal, and recognizing problems is the first step toward creating positive change. You have the power to make different choices moving forward, and it's never too late to prioritize your own well-being and happiness. For those of you who are currently single, I hope this discussion has reinforced that being alone is infinitely better than being with someone who doesn't appreciate your worth. Use this time to rediscover yourself, pursue your interests, build meaningful friendships, and create the life you want. When the right person comes along, someone who enhances rather than diminishes your joy, you'll be ready to recognize and appreciate them. Before we wrap up, I want to ask for your continued support of this channel. Your engagement makes such a difference in helping us reach more women who need to hear these messages. If today's content was helpful, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps with the algorithm and lets me know you want more content like this. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Share your thoughts, your experiences, or your questions. Your comments not only help other women in our community, but also help me understand what topics matter most to you. Don't be afraid to open up. We're all learning and growing together. Please, share this video with any women in your life who might benefit from this message. Sometimes we need to hear these truths from multiple sources before we're ready to accept them. And your sharing might be exactly what someone needs to hear today. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss our latest content. We're building a community of strong, wise women who support each other in creating fulfilling, authentic lives, and I'd love to have you as part of that community. And if you really want to show your support and help us continue creating content that matters, consider leaving a super thanks. Your financial support helps us invest more time and resources into research, production, and creating the high-quality content you deserve. Every super thanks, no matter the amount, makes a real difference and is deeply appreciated. Remember, dear ones, you are worthy of love, respect, and happiness. You deserve relationships that celebrate who you are, support your dreams, and add richness to your already amazing life. Don't ever let anyone convince you to accept less than you deserve simply because of your age or any other factor. Trust your instincts, maintain your standards, and have the courage to walk away from situations that don't honor your worth. Your future self will thank you for the brave choices you make today. Thank you for spending this time with me. Take care of yourselves, trust yourselves, and remember, the best chapters of your life can still be ahead of you. I'll see you in the next video, and until then, keep shining your beautiful light in the world. You've got this, and I believe in you completely.